this week on passing spider and lasso guard. Now let's just kind of review like the three main things when passing lasso guard. So the three best things to keep in mind, YouTube clickbait, is one, trying to prevent it by circling our hand as they get the lasso. Two is if we can't do that, using our legs to beat the lasso guard. And three, what was the third one? Having a gi that's so short but still IBGF legal. Okay, that was the most important one. I'm kidding. Okay, so we're just gonna warm up reviewing the techniques. So he's gonna start double spider. I'm gonna start up on 2 feet. From here he creates an angle, and from here he shoots a leg through and starts pulling my arm inside. Now, as he's rotating his leg through, I also want to rotate, go ahead, the back of my hand. So as he tries to get the lasso, my hand's already to the outside. And now the effectiveness of his lasso is now gone. Okay, now from here, again, we can either use a straight knee to create a bend in the knee or a cross knee, like so. Now both are good options. I personally like to use a cross knee. So from here, I pull my elbow back to my hip. Now I place my shin and knee behind his knee like so. So now I can pummel my arm through. And now from here, you can use either through the legs passing or around. From here, I can either step over, use the long step that we looked at yesterday, or from here, I can start walking to the opposite side and putting myself in a leg drag. Okay, so again, we start out, double spider, okay, feet on my biceps. He creates that angle. As I feel him kick through, I want to make sure I'm circling my hand free. Now from here, I pull my elbow back towards my body so I can change his shoulder position, making it easier for me now to place my knee right behind his knee. So now his spider hook is weak. Now I just pummel behind and through. Now option one, we go long step. Option two, we pin the leg, start shuffling to the outside, dragging the leg and getting through. Okay, let's get warmed up. 3, 2, 1. Find partners. Pretty much any guard, we have choices between through the legs, around the legs, or under the legs. Okay. Now everything we've done so far today and yesterday has been either through or around the legs. Now we're going to go underneath our leg, and we're really going to deep dive into the stack stuff that we looked at yesterday. Now, why is stacking really good? Well, stacking is good against people who are both flexible and inflexible, because if they're not flexible, they're just going to concede their back because they'll be forced to turtle or accept the guard pass. And then if you have a flexible person, it's really hard to be flexible and retain your guard with your legs behind your head. So how do we force his position? And more importantly, when do we force his position? So this time my opponent gets spider lasso, and I was a little too late, and he's able to really get that lasso in nice and tight. So now circling my hand becomes problematic. So just like we talked about, is if I can't circle my hand, I need to grip something, okay? Belt, some collar, something. Just make sure you grab something and your hand isn't just free. Now, as long as this spider hook is on my bicep, it's going to be really hard to put pressure and put this guy upside down. So most of my attention is going to start on this foot here, like so. Okay, just like this hand, I want to make sure it's anchored to something as well. Now, from here, we use either that cross knee or straight knee to pummel our hand free. Now, once we pummel our hand free, I want to start squaring this guy up. And as I start squaring this guy up, I want to start turning my shoulder and put pressure on his foot and ankle so that he switches into a more shallow lasso here. Okay, you guys see what I did? Come back. Even if the lasso is deep, get as deep as you want. Okay, I'm almost putting like heel hook pressure by pulling myself to the collar and turning my shoulder down so that he has to go shallow. Now the second he's shallow, from here, I start using my elbow and turning my shoulders as I bring my knee right behind his hamstring so that I get side on with my opponent. So now we make like this letter T from here. Now, as I start prying his knee with my elbow and knee, now I can release the grip on the leg and start to go underneath the pants, either to the belt or the drawstrings. And from here I start lifting and forcing, stay up, don't fall, staying and forcing his toes to the floor, toes on the floor. Okay, now this will depend on the flexibility of your opponent. If he's a flexible guard player, he has to put his toes on the mat. Okay, why? Because this prevents me from fully exposing his back into turtle. If he's less flexible, then he'll usually try to just go with the shoulder roll, and that's my cue to start exposing the back. Okay, so usually if you fight bigger guys that aren't very flexible, they're just gonna go with the roll here. Now, you can make it so as he tries to roll, you keep the drawstrings and you keep that collar. So now he can't roll, and look, I'm pinching my knees around his hips like so that he can't roll. So this buys me time to switch from inside the legs to around the legs here. And now I close my elbow over his thigh, and now I can start to pass into a leg drag. And if he tries to turtle now, I can get my head, I can get my head inside his shoulder and prevent that turtle. If I want him to turtle, then I won't control the shoulder, and I'll start preparing to take his back. So again, facing me. He gets a good lasso. I anchor my hand. I address this leg with either of the methods we looked at. Straight or cross. Now I start circling. I feel that lasso's really tight, so I start putting pressure on his foot so he goes shallow. Now I start getting side on and using my knee and elbow against the back of his leg. Now I pick up his hips and I use my knee and my hand on the pants to start lifting and pinching so he just doesn't roll. Okay? If I let him roll too fast, he can now single leg me, right, and go into takedowns of his own. So I try to control the rate at where he turtles here. So now he has nowhere to go. Notice my feet are at a 45-degree angle, really pinching my knees. Now I can dig for that lapel, and once I'm here, my left knee goes to the floor, my right elbow goes to my own knee, and I crash his shoulder so that I can stabilize the guard pass. All right, let's give that a shot. 3, 2, 1. He takes out the lasso and will try to put you back in De La Riva guard so he can put his back on the floor. So just from that shallow lasso position, right? So as I square him up and I start putting this pressure here, if he keeps resisting, freeze, let go of this, his lower back is off the floor, okay, at least a few inches here. So what a common reaction you'll get is he'll throw this leg around, and now his lower back is back on the floor, so it's going to be hard to lift and stack past him. Okay, so come back. So we want to exploit that with what we talked about yesterday, okay, except I'll go more into detail on this today now. So as I feel that leg coming around, slow motion, I'm going to put all my weight on my hands. Okay, remember what we talked about yesterday? If I want to make my legs light, the weight has to go somewhere. If my weight's on my legs and I try to hop over, it's kind of awkward. So I place my weight on that far leg C-grip, and my elbow is going to guide his leg lower than my knee line. If the leg's above my knee line, it's going to be hard to hop over. So as it's circling out, my elbow guides it, my head drops, my weight's on my hand and my forearm, and I go lead leg first. 1, 2, to the opposite side. Okay, so it looks a little robotic when you do it slow, but what it would look like is he has his grips, I feel him circling the leg out, we get to the opposite side, like so. And make sure that I go one leg at a time. Okay, if you do like 2 legs at a time, it'll look kind of weird, but you won't have enough weight on him. So I'll do it with 2 legs. Ready, go. I feel like I have no bounce. Okay, I mean, you saw it. So it's like, whoosh. Make sure you do the sound effect. Okay, so I'm pushing, pressuring, hopping over. And I don't really have the best grips when I do this, so it's so important that we start to face our partner's hips and start to crash. A lot of times when you do this live, he goes, you hop over, and before you're able to crash, they start to face you. And from here, I like to place myself right into a knee cut position. And now as he tries to recover, I have this long step grip as well, try to recover. I just start crashing the hips from a knee cut as well. So always be ready to connect techniques when you're doing this. So one more. From that shallow lasso, he circles. As he starts facing me, I place myself in the knee cut here. Okay, let's get to work. 3, 2, 1.